We explain the creation of the United Nations. The League of Nations, established after World War I, had proved ineffective in preventing World War II. It had sat on the sidelines while Hitler's Germany and Mussolini's Italy swooped up fellow member states like Libya, France, Norway, Denmark, Luxembourg, and Belgium. It allowed Germany to violate most of the Treaty of Versailles and take over the Saar coal region and Danzig. The League rarely stepped in to prevent international violence in places like Poland, Greece, or Ethiopia. They stood by as Japan invaded China and then watched as Japan, Italy, and Germany walked out of the League, yet threw Russia out for invading Finland. They did manage to craft Geneva Convention rules on chemical and biological warfare and tried to limit the oppression of minorities in Africa, but failed to prevent the Holocaust. The U.S. had refused to join, not wanting to be beholden to fight constant wars, but sided with several League initiatives like the Kellogg-Briand Pact and the War Powers Conference to eliminate offensive war as a tool of foreign policy. This allowed the U.S. to remain neutral and isolationist during the 1930s. The Soviets had no love for the organization, as they had also not prevented the Nazis from invading their country. During the war, it was decided that a new international organization would have to be created, one that would maintain peace and global programs and also provide collective security. In 1943, FDR and Churchill met in Quebec to discuss their plans for the post-war order. They discussed the notion of a four-power agreement that would keep the balance of the world in the new international organization. The proposal was prioritized as Article 4 at the Moscow Conference that October. Stalin pushed back initially against the inclusion of China, wanting it to stay only the Big Three. A year later, at a Georgetown estate named Dumbarton Oaks, representatives from the Soviet Union, the United Kingdom, and the U.S. met to outline the plans for the new organization. It was followed by another few weeks with the Chinese because the Soviets refused to meet with them. The delegates divided the United Nations into four bodies: a Security Council, a General Assembly, an International Court, and a Secretariat. Various branches would take care of social and economic issues. Notable at the conference was how each of the countries spied on each other behind the scenes, and also future accused spy Alger Hiss was the secretary. The issue of how votes would be taken in the institution was tabled till Yalta, but the conference did agree that member nations would provide military assistance to fight or keep the peace, something that the League of Nations had lacked. Eventually, at the Yalta Conference, it was decided that the Security Council would have 11 members, 6 rotating and 5 permanent members, which would be the U.S., the Soviet Union, France, the United Kingdom, and China, each with the veto power to have final say on General Assembly petitions. There was a huge push to sell the United Nations to countries who'd been destroyed by the war the League of Nations had failed to prevent. In the end, 46 nations met in San Francisco of October 45 to hash out the details and draft the charter. There was some unease about the Security Council veto power. What if one of the nations chose to be an aggressor? Also, would regional security groups like NATO still be allowed? The United Nations was born and would become a major player in the Cold War.